Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. We are coming off what I thought was a very good edition of SmackDown, and we have a huge SmackDown coming up next week as 2016 comes to a close. Got your questions regarding SmackDown and other topics. Let's get started with the first one today, which comes from Sean T. Flick. They seem to be going all out for next week's SmackDown. Do you think Undertaker appears at the end of the show / Styles match? I am definitely curious about what is going on with The Undertaker, like everyone else. Undertaker, as we all remembered, came back right before Survivor Series and said he's back to dig holes and take souls, and we haven't seen him since. So I think it's inevitable we will see The Undertaker again leading up to WrestleMania, but the question is, does he appear next week, or will Undertaker's return be saved until closer to WrestleMania? I mean, I could also see John Cena coming out next week and challenging the winner of the WWE title match, the triple threat between AJ, Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler. Cena challenges the winner, and at the end of the show, Cena confronts the winner, which I'm assuming will be AJ Styles, and that sets up John Cena versus AJ at the Rumble, and then maybe you have Undertaker winning the Rumble, and that sets up Cena versus Undertaker at WrestleMania. That is a possibility, and we might just see The Undertaker show up next week. I mean, this week's SmackDown coming up in Chicago is stacked. I mean, WWE has basically treated it like a pay-per-view. You have multiple title matches, WWE title on the line, women's title on the line, tag team titles on the line, and if there was ever a show to bring back The Undertaker, this would be it in Chicago, with a lot more people watching than usual, with all the hype and build-up. That would be the place to do it. So we'll see. We'll see. If we do not see Undertaker next week, then we probably will not see him until the Rumble at the earliest, if not after that. Got this one here from Larby. Natalya seems to improve her mic skills. Does she deserve to be champion? I've gotten a lot of questions about Natalya coming off of SmackDown. I thought she did an amazing job with that promo on Nikki Bella. Probably the best promo of Natalya's career. That was like her CM Punk pipe bomb promo. She was great, especially when she said her cat has more charisma than Nikki. I thought that was great. And of course, the B word being dropped multiple times. You can't go wrong with that, but her delivery was really strong. So I felt that Natalya did an amazing job, and I would like to see her get pushed to the top and get a run with the women's title again. I feel she has put in the time in WWE, and she deserves some recognition for it, and deserves a good, solid run as the women's champion. So yeah, I would say absolutely she does deserve it. This one comes from Joshua Anderson. What do you think of Jericho versus Kevin Owens at Fastlane, and then have Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor and Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho at WrestleMania? I'm not really a fan of doing Jericho versus Owens at Fastlane. I mean, after all this time invested in this storyline between Owens and Jericho, you're building it up for months and months, and then instead of WrestleMania, you do it at Fastlane? To me, that would be really underwhelming and very anticlimactic. I definitely feel WWE is going with this storyline, and they're dragging it out to the Royal Rumble, and I think if you're dragging it out that long, then you should do that match at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho. I think they should do that at WrestleMania. Now, as far as Finn Balor goes, his situation is still unclear if he's going to be back in time for WrestleMania. He says that's what he's targeting for. I might like a storyline where Balor, if he is able to come back for WrestleMania, he comes out and says he wants his title match at WrestleMania. Mick Foley can come out and say, you know what, this thing between Owens and Jericho is really personal, and instead of Finn Balor being added to that match and being part of a triple threat where he only has a 33 1/3% chance of winning. I sound like Scott Steiner now with the percentages, but Mick Foley can offer Balor a one-on-one match after WrestleMania, and then offer a marquee match for Balor at WrestleMania, and at that point maybe they could do something like Balor versus AJ Styles, Raw versus SmackDown super match at WrestleMania. Something like that I think would be better for Balor, and then have him get his one-on-one match after WrestleMania. But, you know, a lot of that depends on Balor's status and his health. But, yeah, you could always do a triple threat, but I think Jericho versus Owens at WrestleMania would be much stronger. So, at this point, I would go with Jericho versus Owens one-on-one at Mania and not do that match before. This one comes from Broken Ty Marshall. What are your thoughts on the new look of the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship? I'm not really surprised. I mean, we've seen it with the other titles where the women's title and the world title are just different colors on each brand, and that's what they're doing with the tag team titles now. So it doesn't shock me at all. I'm not that upset about it. I mean, I was never a huge fan of the giant pennies design. I know some people hated it, some people liked it. I mean, I'm very indifferent when it comes to the title belt designs. I just found it funny, though, when they introduced the new title belts that everyone booed. But again, people booed the Universal title debut, and that quickly died down, and people got over it, and people just accept the Universal title as it is now. I think in the long run, it just doesn't really matter. I mean, whatever. If they want to have all the Raw belts red and all the SmackDown belts blue, I mean, so be it. Whatever. I mean, to me, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, it's not that creative, but at the end of the day, I mean, I really don't care that much if they do wacky designs that are very different from the other brand. I mean, whatever. Whatever they want to do to make it easy for people. I mean, I'm guessing that's what their intentions are. Trying to make things as clear as possible. Raw, red, SmackDown, blue, whatever. This next one comes from I'm With 54. Hey Aaron, when will they pull the trigger and add new members to the club, and who would you add? Hashtag first time asker. Real quick, if I've never answered one of your questions before, or if you are a new viewer and you would like to send in a question, use the hashtag PAIV1 and I will try to answer questions from new people. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the question here. Regarding the club, the only person I feel I would add would be Finn Balor if WWE wants to do some sort of reunion between Balor and Anderson and Gallows. But beyond that, I mean, unless WWE signs somebody like Kenny Omega, somebody from the Bullet Club, I would not introduce new people that were never part of that group in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I would only consider doing it with somebody like Balor or maybe a Kenny Omega, at least at this point. Yeah, maybe it would be beneficial to Anderson and Gallows to add some new members, but I think if they were going to do that, they should have done it already. Once Balor's back from injury, then you could possibly explore that potential storyline with Balor reuniting with his former buddies from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Got this one here from Beast Slayer. Isn't it a problem that babyfaces take forever to make the save, as seen with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins? The whole point of it is to get the fans anticipating the babyface coming out and get them chanting for the babyface. The thing I found funny about that segment on Raw the other week was when Rollins was getting beat down, you know, it was happening for a long time, and I think people in WWE were waiting for the "We Want Reigns" chants or Roman chants, and they never came. Nobody chanted for Roman Reigns to come out and make the save. And it's gotten so bad, the fan reactions to Reigns, and by the way, he's nominated and winning the NoDQ.com Worst Wrestler of the Year poll. Again, wasn't my choice to put him in it. He got nominated, but that's a whole other topic. The thing with Roman Reigns is people have been so negative on him that it's affecting Seth Rollins now. He's getting booed now by association with Roman Reigns. But yeah, generally, to answer your question, the idea is you want to build up the anticipation and get the fans chanting for the guy to make the save. And, the longer you wait and the guy finally comes out, it gets a bigger pop. At least that's the theory. Got this one here from Banks Club. Can you see WWE ever signing Will Ospreay? He's an amazing talent. I think it's inevitable. I think he's one of those guys that will end up in WWE. You know, somebody asked me about him and Ricochet. I think both of them will end up in WWE one day. Same thing with the Young Bucks, even though they signed a new deal with Ring of Honor. I think eventually all those guys will end up in WWE at some point down the line. Not in the near future, but eventually. I would be shocked if Will Ospreay did not end up in WWE at some point. And Triple H recently did an interview, and you know, he did mention that Ospreay is very talented, and I think it will happen when the time is right. You know, AJ Styles didn't come to WWE for many years. I mean, he started well before WCW went out of business. Well, maybe not that far, but before WCW went out of business. But he was in WCW. I mean, that's how long AJ Styles has been around, and he didn't end up in WWE until 2016. So for some of these guys, it might take a while, but I think they'll eventually get to WWE down the line. This one comes from Ben Visors. Do you think that Sanity in NXT will work? Seems like an Attitude Era gimmick to me. I'm not so sure. I mean, I've seen a couple of clips of them, and it feels more like a TNA faction to me than a WWE faction. So I don't know how much potential it has on the main roster. It might do well in NXT. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, let's see what happens if they have a match at the NXT takeover in San Antonio. I think that'll be a good test, you know, when you have 12,000 people there in the building and see how a larger crowd reacts to them after several weeks of storyline development. At that point, I think it'll be easier to make a prediction on how well they'll do, not just in NXT, but on the main roster. Right now, to me, the jury's still out. Got this one here from Jishnu. Hey Aaron, why has Raw become such a boring show on a weekly basis? Is the creative team running out of ideas? Has Raw run its course? I still say the biggest issue with Raw is being a 3-hour show. And yeah, the writing is an issue as well. The writing, I feel, is very uncreative. I mean, they're the creative team, but they're not being very creative. It just feels like every week it's the same thing, the same format, the same formula. SmackDown is a 2-hour show, and also it feels like it's designed to be more like an Attitude Era Raw, you know, 2-hour show with shorter matches, a little bit of a longer main event, more backstage skits, and if you notice, they're pushing the envelope a little bit more. I mean, they're doing more stuff that is in the realm of TV 14, you know, making sexual references and that sort of thing. And it seems like there are more storylines on SmackDown. With Raw, it just feels like there's a lot of filler. And again, part of that is due to the show being 3 hours, and they have to fill up the 3 hours, so segments often drag and they go longer than they really need to. I mean, these segments just get drawn out, and that really brings down the entire show. Got this one here from Jeremiah Dorset. Do you see Anthem Sports and Entertainment getting full 100% control of TNA Wrestling and rebranding the company? The whole deal is that Dixie still has a minority interest in TNA. So Anthem owns the majority now, but Dixie Carter is still involved. And, you know, quite frankly, as long as Dixie's involved, I don't see TNA being able to rebound from all this and become this new brand that is setting the wrestling world on fire, and we see a resurgence in popularity of TNA. I just don't see it happening as long as Dixie has some sort of influence in the company. So I don't know what's going to happen with TNA. I mean, they have tapings scheduled for January, and they're doing a live pay-per-view, a one night only. We'll see. We'll see if they actually try to rebrand the company. I know with Billy Corgan, he wanted to change the name and try to rebrand TNA. Will they do that, or will it just be the same old TNA that we've been seeing for years? You know, I really feel it needs a major overhaul, and you need to spend a lot of money to do that. So the question is, how much money will Anthem spend before they decide they've had enough and they're going to tap out? I mean, that is the big question. How long will this continue? I mean, at some point TNA has to start making money, or it's just going to be money bleeding constantly, and at some point you have to cut your losses and move on. So I don't know what's going to happen, but to be perfectly honest, my hopes are not that high. And there I go again with another negative response to TNA, but that's the way it is, I feel. You know, it is what it is. This question comes from Wreck-It Beckett. Do you think WWE missed a possible face turn for Charlotte on Raw? No, I mean, Charlotte is doing a great job as a heel, and with Bayley as the next challenger, it doesn't make sense for Charlotte to go babyface. Now, I know what you mean with Sasha coming out and doing that promo, wanting to thank Charlotte and calling her the better woman and all that stuff, and then Charlotte going on social media and praising Sasha. You know, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I think Charlotte should stay in character on social media, and you know, if she wants to do that in a outside interview, that's fine. But I think on social media, I think she should stay in character. I just feel Sasha, now that she's out of the picture, you want to focus on Bayley as the top babyface. And, you know, Charlotte's a great heel. So I think Charlotte and Bayley really play off well from each other. I think that Charlotte is this very arrogant woman. She's the queen, as she calls herself. And Bayley's more humble. And it's kind of like Cinderella, kind of, you know. You have Bayley is like, you know, the bottom of the totem pole. She's the peasant, and Charlotte's the queen. So I like the dynamic between the two of them, and it's definitely too soon to turn Charlotte. I think eventually she will go face, and she'll be huge as a babyface. But for now, I think it's best for her to be the champion and have Bayley as the challenger leading into WrestleMania. Next one from Young Lord. Is it just me, or does the in-ring work in WWE seem more slowly paced and less aggressive and believable, such as punches and so forth? I would say that the biggest problem with the in-ring work in WWE is the fact that everything is so overly choreographed now, you know, with the guys doing the dives, and, you know, the spot where they had, even though it got a big pop, so it's hard to complain, but the spot where you had, you know, the doubles, the four guys in the corner doing the suplex and the power bomb simultaneously. You know, the crowd popped huge for it, but it just looks so choreographed and staged. And a lot of these dives where the guys are just standing out there waiting to catch the guy. You know, it does feel at times like this stuff is really overly choreographed. And, you know, I know some people don't like, you know, going back to earlier with the William Ospreay and Ricochet, all the flips they do, and, you know, the gymnastic stuff. You know, that makes it hard to suspend disbelief. So to me, that is the biggest issue. Yes, I love the great athleticism that we're seeing in wrestling today, but at the same time, you need to make it believable. And you know, when it crosses that line where it's just more about doing gymnastics than actually doing something that looks real, like it would happen in a real fight. Yeah, I think you need a balance. You want to do the flashy stuff, but at the same time, you want it to look as real as possible. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the Royal Rumble and next week's huge SmackDown in Chicago, and also Monday Night Raw, but SmackDown's what everyone's talking about. Keep voting. All the polls are up now for the NoDQ.com year-end awards, and you can check out all the videos, all 22 videos, where Jeff and I wore the same shirt every single day, right, Gilberto? Check that out. And it's Larry David on the t-shirt, Gilberto, but he loves to troll. The best damn troll in the world. And you can follow him at NoDQForums.com. How I know this, you have to go there and find out. So that'll do it for NoDQ&A video. I will see you guys next time.